Welcome back to Media Week. We are joined by Sean James, Director of Presto and Foxtel's On Demand, in the studio with us, talking streaming video online in the wake of the Presto JV with Seven, of course, launching Presto Entertainment. Just discussing Netflix as well, which is launching, of course, in March. They've confirmed the date. How much marketing are you doing in the lead up to that?
We've got a marketing plan that goes all the way through the year, and we know that the space is going to be highly competitive with a number of players out and about to launch. There's still an educational piece with Australian consumers. I think people have heard of this, streaming products and what they mean, but there's that piece as well. And so I think that, it's a really positive time for consumers. We expect a lot of sampling, a lot of people trialling different services, and a lot of noise in the market from a communications point of view.
So is it about educating consumers at this point?
Definitely an element of that as well. This is something new, but what we do know about Australians is if you look at mobile telephony penetration, if you look at tablets, if you look at computers, Australians adopt technology really, really quickly, and that's what we're expecting to see.
Sean, I've had a look at both the new services this month. Seem to be lacking up new release movies are harder to find on both of them, I think. Probably overall you've got quite a strong movie offering, probably better than Stan's, maybe until yesterday when they announced their roadshow deal, which has got some pretty good recent stuff. Will you be able to match that?
Yeah, we think that in terms of both recency, where you're talking the newer release movies, we're very, very strong in that regard. We've also got a very strong library offering as well, and we're actually the only service that is representing all the major Hollywood studios. So that's something that we've had in our back pocket.
So will you match them on that roadshow content?
On the roadshow content, there's going to be swings and roundabouts in terms of who's got new release, and we could point out that we've got HBO exclusively, we've got the drop on Showtime. So, for example, there's claims from both services that Ray Donovan is appearing in a competitive service. Well, Presto will have the most recent Ray Donovan available on SVOD platforms in Australia. So consumers are very clever. They find these things out. We've got a strong social media communication with our subscribers. And so in terms of the content claims, I think they just need to do a bit of homework on it. They need to make their own minds up, and they need to be very wary because some of the releases, some of the things that we've seen in the last couple of weeks are borderline, sort of pushing the boat out a bit far. But I suppose that's...
You wouldn't do that, would you?
People getting very, very excited about launching products,
Look, there's been a lot of media attention about the streaming video services sort of threatening existing free-to-air and subscription TV models. Do you see yourselves as a disruptor?
It's disruptive technology, there's no question about that. I think what it is, though, and if you take it from a Foxtel perspective, Foxtel's been very good at providing options for people to consume in different formats. So right through from the IQ box, now through to an over-the-top service with Presto. And to touch on my earlier comment, we genuinely believe, and the research shows, that streaming video over the top is very much a top-up product, a complementary product. We know that there's people sitting at home, they've got a DVD collection and an Apple TV, there's people who've got a Foxtel box and Spotify. So people don't necessarily use these services in isolation, they'll use it to augment and complement the existing viewing options.
Sean, you've had data on your movie subscribers since, March last year, whenever it was. What's that telling you? I mean, are people using it at prime time, like they're watching TV? And what devices are they getting in?
You're heading into that prime time area. They're watching towards the end of the week. We see it spike from Thursday through to Sunday as people move into their leisure time. The other thing that's been really interesting, our forecasts were way under in terms of consumption. We're expecting people that might watch somewhere between 4 and 6 movies a month. We're seeing about 5 a week. And so that's across a multitude of devices. PC is still the number one, which is interesting. But then the one that's really accelerated, and Presto was first onto it, was when Chromecast launched last year. So we're now seeing over 20% of our weekly viewing, inclusive of the recent TV launch, come via Chromecast, which I think is really interesting as well.
So you think there's a big enough market for all the competitors coming in this year?
I think it's going to be a pretty hot space.
Yeah.
From our perspective, we're absolutely determined. We're really focused on what we're doing, and we will be extremely aggressive. So I'm sure you'll see it change. I'm sure you'll see it shake out. But I think everyone's coming into the market with that view as well. So we certainly don't take anything lightly. But I think we're well prepared, and we're in good shape to move forward.
Bandwidth, am I going to use much bandwidth streaming a movie? I mean,
there's the question you were saying would come up earlier.
Well, yeah, and it's no surprise it's come up in focus groups, and it's come up in focus groups we're doing at the moment, and that's part of the education piece as well. with a decent broadband package at home, a decent cap
What's
allowance.
decent? What do you need?
You're talking 100 megs, so that's the type of thing where people are, you know, it's a standard family plan. You're probably going to struggle to break
It's
it.
the upper end, though, for a lot of people.
It is, and I think that...
They're probably people without kids, though, aren't they? Because
Well,
if you've got
right.
kids...
You're well and truly
big
used to
data
that.
capture.
So, look, that's part of the education process where I think people are just standing back a bit and saying, well, what will it do, and if I'm on a cap or I'm on a plan. So certainly it's part of the information that we're providing, so people understand that in terms of the usage of the service.
Could you be sort of bundled up in, you know, the long-awaited, much-anticipated triple play?
We would be absolutely crazy not to consider that, James. I've got nothing that I can share with you today, but certainly we know that from a distribution point of view, we've got some really good options from a Presto perspective if you think of the structure around Foxtel and 7, and it's certainly on our roadmap with regards to partnering and accelerating our distribution.
For the package too, wouldn't it?
Absolutely.
Lots of opportunities for the future there. Sean James, thanks so much for joining us on the show today.
Thanks for having me.
Director of Presto and Foxtel's On Demand. Well, also looking at the TV advertising market, it's continued to struggle in the second half of 2014, with the latest numbers showing Metro free-to-air ad revenue contracted about 3%. Well, for more on the numbers, back to James Manning, editor and publisher of Mediaweek now. James, what did you make of these numbers coming out?
Yeah, look, it wasn't great news that they're down 3%. But, you know, we've seen a long, slow decline in TV numbers. So they've still got a great pitch to advertisers. They still need free-to-air TV. So, look, you know, they might be struggling to increase this year. They'll probably be happy if they can hold at 2014's figures. But it's still all 9 and 7 controlling the market pretty much. It was the splits. They each have about 40%. 10's back on 20%. So I can't see that changing much this year at all.
So you think steady for 2015?
Yeah, I mean, it's been, I think it's look, it's never easy selling ads, but they're finding it pretty tough, I think, to start to the year. But I think, you know, 10 is really hopeful of getting a few points back, if you like, off 7 and 9. They're risking rolling the dice big time with Celebrity, I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here, live from South Africa. I think 5 nights a week that's going to be. So they're really hoping that will do something. If they can get that away, that'll help promo the rest of their schedule, and they might be able to get a few of those percentage points back. What's one of those percentage points worth? Around $50 million, you know, so it's big bickies. 7 just has one more point. They're a point ahead of 9, which isn't a lot, but it's worth about $56 million to them.
Do you think, though, they're coming under similar sort of structural pressures to what we saw in the newspaper business over the last few years?
No.
No.
No. I mean, you know, that could happen, you know, eventually. There are pressures, but I don't think you can compare it at all into what print has been through.
OK. 10 Network. How are they tracking with ad share?
Yeah, well, as I said, look, they'd love to get a bit back, you know.
Yeah.
They'd love to get back above 20%. Can they do it? Yeah, look, they probably can if they can really get a bit of traction with I'm Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here.
Yeah.
And if social media buzz in the media accounts for anything, it could do reasonably well. It could be like a Bachelor. They could be getting, you know, upper end of 800,000 people in Metro for those weeknight episodes. Hopefully, maybe they push to around 1 million. I mean, the first episode on Sunday night, they're saying all the celebrities are going into crocodile-infested waters, I think. So, you know, that'll get people watching, you know, and you'll also turn on, because we still don't know definitely who those people are going to be. So they've been very clever how they do that.
What about on the latest sale? Because, of course, it's all about 10 Network takeover speculation. Bruce Gordon's been putting his voice out there. What's the latest? Yeah,
look, it just seems a bit of a stalemate at the moment. It's really not going anywhere. You think for anything to happen, the Discovery Foxtel consortium, if you like, are probably going to have to stump up a bit more money to try and motivate Mr. Gordon. He seems to want more than that, so maybe they're meeting behind closed doors with him, but they really need to try and win him across, get him on side, whether he ends up coming in as some sort of partner with them. I don't know where it'll go. Yeah,
we'll be watching carefully over the next couple of months.
Sure.
Now, Shine Australia and 7 have announced who will star in their new Peter Allen miniseries. Who is it?
Yeah, look, there's a newcomer called Joel Jackson.
Okay.
Hasn't been on screen much at all, so it's a great role for him. The interesting thing is going to be Sigrid Thornton and Rebecca Gibney are also in it. Sigrid Thornton's going to play Judy Garland, which should be pretty amazing. Rebecca Gibney will play Peter Allen's mum. So, look, sounds like must-watch TV to me. Starts production next week, so I think 7 will probably want to might be able to get their hands on it mid-year or something for the second half.
Okay. Despite some of the big shows returning, we're still in summer ratings survey. How have the channels been performing in summer?
They've both been doing well. Probably the tennis has maybe underperformed a little bit for Seven so far. Some Aussie players got some good audiences, but they're not hanging around towards the business end of the tournament. The Big Bash has been pretty good for 10. It started off sort of matching last year's figures, which 10 and the sponsors be pretty happy with. The final was on this week, 1.4 million metro and regional, which is a great figure for them. And 9 have had some big audiences with the cricket. That's been doing really well for them. The World Cup's to come. That's going to be on all games live on Fox Sports. 9 will get the Australian games and some of the finals, so still a bit of cricket to come.
Yeah, it's all about the sport at the moment. So let's look at ratings actually for week 4 for free to air. Right now you can see there, as you mentioned, sport taking the lead. Cricket.
Yeah, look, cricket doing very well up there. That Australia versus India game, that was one of the Tri-Series one-day internationals. Yeah, 2 of those top 5 spots.
9 taking the top 5 spots, I should mention there.
Sure.
With the news as well. Okay, turning the page and looking at the rounding out the top 10 there. 7 news in there. Cricket again.
Yeah.
And the tennis.
Tennis, yeah, only one spot in that top 10 managed to push its way in there. But that first week, they probably would have liked for a bit more traction, a few more eyeballs.
All right, let's take a look now at subscription TV ratings, and you can see that the Asian Cup dominating.
Yeah, look, I think Fox Sports are pretty happy with that. The Australian games have drawn the big numbers. Some of those other matches hasn't been a lot of interest. Good news for them is, of course, Australia through to the final, so that should be easily topping the chart when you look at this time next week.
Yeah, turning the page, we'll just round out the top 10 there. You can see Modern Family in there and the Asian Cup again.
Yeah, look, Call the Midwife doing great business for BBC First too. I don't think it's on the basic platform, so you've got to be up a tier to get that. But yeah, 100,000 people watched that. That was the start of the new series, so yeah, doing good work.
All right, let's turn the page now to radio. Now, Alan Jones has been in focus a lot. What's the latest there?
Yeah, look, he's been on doing his usual 2GB show in Sydney, but he's been, because of daylight saving, he's been able to squeeze in an hour on 4BC in Brisbane. Goes to air at 9 a.m. in Brisbane, does an hour, and he's been really getting stuck into the politicians up there, talking a lot about the election. And he's managed to upset the Premier and quite a few of his ministers, I think, so they've formed an orderly queue outside their solicitors, and apparently there's going to be a bit of legal action. How much that proceeds, I don't know, but because a lot of people threaten stuff and they get to a certain stage and it doesn't always get to court. A lot of people do actually take Alan Jones to court. He spends quite a lot of his time in court. John Singleton, the major shareholder in 2GB, has been talking this week. He's saying, look, he's glad that that's been on 4BC. Of course, he doesn't own 4BC. That's part of Fairfax Media, which could be eventually in a JV with Macquarie, but it's not there yet. So Fairfax Media are going to have to defend that action.
Yeah, OK. Let's talk the major radio breakfast shows, because they all started this week, but we're all talking about Drive as well. Why?
It's interesting. Well, mainly because we don't talk about Drive a lot, particularly FM Drive, not since Hamish and Andy stepped away from the microphone, if you like, in their Drive show. They're back this year, but there's also a lot of other action. We've got Husey and Kate have moved across from Nova. They used to be a big deal in breakfast radio in Melbourne, taken a year off from radio. Now they're back working for the opposition. ARN, they started on air this week with a network Drive show. Be interesting to see how they go. And Merrick Watts back in radio at Triple M next week with a solo show. First time he's been on air without Rosso or some other partner, so he'll be sort of spearheading that program. Starts up next week, so it'll be interesting to see how those ratings play out.
Yeah, when do we get those ratings, the first ones?
First ratings, I think it's the first week of March.
Yep.
Yeah, see how
still a couple of months away.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, I want to talk some anniversaries as well, because there's been a couple of media anniversaries this week. 2UE celebrating its 90th birthday.
Yeah, look, that always falls on Australia Day, their birthday, so they made a big deal of it this year. They always do an outside broadcast, and they had some of their previous announcers on. It was good to see people like Alan Jones, who's competition, Ray Hadley, who's currently competition. They came back on air. They've sort of got a reason to help promote the network now, of course, because they're going into this joint venture. But they came on air, talked about their early days in radio at 2UE, and it just made for an interesting day. I think 2UE's in a pretty good place now, if you like. They've got a reasonable lineup. They're sort of an interesting alternative to 2GB. So it'd be interesting to see how they play out this year too. And, if the JV does come together and to go in, how they steer those two talk stations working in the same market this year.
Yeah. Also, subscription TV turning 20 after Galaxy, I guess Galaxy launched the service 20 years ago.
Galaxy 20 years ago, sort of microwave connection. You had a little microwave antenna on your rooftop pointing to a tower and picking up that signal.
How things have changed.
Back in 1994, and then before you know it, I think there was 3 players in the market by the end of that year. Foxtel came in and Optus Vision came in. Eventually, I think Galaxy merged with Foxtel, and eventually Optus Vision was wound into sort of the Foxtel offering as well, and Ozstar eventually, which did the regionals, and then we've just got left with one major Foxtel offering. So but that will be sort of recognised, I think, at the Astra Awards this year in March. They're going to have some people from the early days. They'll probably show some highlights of some of those early broadcasts. So they'll be paying a sort of celebrating that milestone there.
All right. Well, James, we'll have to leave it there. That is all we have time for on this edition of Media Week. Big thank you to James Manning, editor and publisher and our co-host of Media Week. From the team here, thanks for your company.